Good afternoon, Clayton, Georgia, and all of Raven County for that matter. It's Roger Glenn again with the next installment in our series of Mike Up The Mayor with Clayton's Mayor Kurt Cannon. And we're close to Halloween, but this fella is not wearing a costume.
No.
This is Chief Andy Strait, who's the Chief of Police for Clayton, and he's our special guest star for this month. So thank you both for being here with me, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me.
Andy, I'll start with one of the easy ones that I always ask everybody. It's just a little bit about your personal story with Clayton and Raven County.
Oh, wow. I came to Clayton in 1998 for better pay, and I started out on the night shift at the lowest rank there was, and slowly worked my way through the ranks all these years and kept at it. And Clayton's always been good to me, took care of me, and I've tried to do the same, remain loyal and do the same for them. And the atmosphere is great here, the people are great here, so I decided to stay on and made my way to the Chief of Police position. So.
Yes, that's quite an accomplishment. So, and we're glad you did. How long have you been the chief?
Since 2016, so 6 years now.
2016. Can you just talk a little bit about the mission of the department and maybe a little bit about how you cooperate with the sheriff's office or other municipalities?
Of course. So our mission has, in my opinion, has changed greatly in the past 4 or 5 years. We went from a lot of law enforcement methods of getting out and just doing heavy enforcement to more friendly approach with trying to interact more with the citizens. And we found that we get a better reaction from the citizens when we include them and in a lot of our things. We post things online and ask for their help, and they reach out to us a lot, and they've really helped us make a difference in the community.
Yeah.
So I find that the interaction with the community is a big plus for us. It's been a great thing, and so that having that in mind, we're going to continue going in that direction, being seen in the neighborhoods on patrol, and of course we still do our enforcement duties and get out and do what we have to do on the highways to slow folks down, make sure the drunk drivers are off the road. But for the most part, we're just really changing our approach and trying to interact more with the folks of Clayton, folks of Raven County.
Yeah. You were talking a little bit about some of the programs that you've done and sort of in conjunction with the library and the importance of citizens' involvement in law enforcement, especially with things like tips.
Definitely.
And things they might see, because you don't have enough people to see everything all the time, every day. But can you just talk a little bit about how you rely on people to support, the department?
Certainly. We have gotten great support from the library, local library. They've helped us put out some programs about different kinds of what to look for abuse and scams and things of that nature. And in turn, we've used our social media profile to reach out to the citizens and say, hey, there's only a few of us out here. We really need to help, because people know other people better than we do. Sometimes they see somebody on the internet and they're like, hey, I know who that guy is. I just talked to him the other day, and we have no clue. We've never seen this guy before.
Yeah.
So they've really helped us a lot lately with solving some crimes. Actually, we've put them out there, and just within a couple days, I know in the past 2 weeks, we've had 2 cases that the citizens helped us resolve. So it's been a great interaction with the public. We've really enjoyed it, and we're definitely going to continue to do that. So.
Yeah, part of your extended network, if you will, to some degree.
Huge extended network right now, so we're really enjoying it. So.
Yeah, that's the only way to make it work. So I'm sure traffic is a big deal, especially, you got a nice Georgia Mountain laurel there, and it shows the pictures of some of the leaves changing on the trees, and we get a lot of influx of visitors here, whether they're coming up for a weekend or a few days. How can people sort of interact with those folks and be mindful when they're out there on the roads or even walking around downtown?
Goodness. We have definitely seen an influx of folks just in the past, 3 or 4 weeks when the leaves have changed. It seemed like overnight. and folks are just pouring into the city, and of course we're loving that. Businesses are booming, and everybody's getting to visit, and so we just ask folks to be patient and polite and courteous, and we're Clayton. We've always been a welcoming town for visitors, and let's just continue to be what we've always been, and be friendly, and just watch out for folks crossing the street, because we all know that folks just like to stop in the middle of the street sometimes and say, "Hey, where are we going next?" And they'll point if they want to go here or to the down the street there. And we've all dealt with that. We've all done it before somewhere else, right? So we would just be patient and be friendly. That's what Clayton's all about.
Yep. I know when I'm driving through downtown, I try to go really, really slow, because the crosswalks can be dangerous, and we sort of set the standard that our visitors, to some degree, will emulate when it comes to driving around. So
that's true.
And then you got to watch some of those sharp mountain curves. We don't have as many of them as in Clayton, but there's still some streets with some twists and turns to it. And
we do. We have several around town, and the good thing about this time of year is we got folks out walking and jogging and enjoying nature, and so we have to be mindful that there's not always a sidewalk on some of the streets and roads, so just be mindful that they may be bicycling or walking up the side of the road, and just keep an eye out for them. I know it's hard to do sometimes when you're out driving around these mountains because it's so gorgeous, but just keep your eyes on the road a little bit and watch out for those visitors.
Absolutely.
So.
What are some things that you are going to work on in the future that people might be interested in kind of knowing about, or be able to support your efforts in that regard?
Certainly. We're looking at in the immediate future, we're going to be doing a presentation at the library on elder abuse. So we're really trying to focus on, we have a huge elderly population here, and we've dealt with that recently with a few folks financially being scammed or taken advantage of. So we want to reach out to folks and say, hey, these are things to look for. There's some great resources online, and I'll put that in as part of the program. But we want folks, when they come home to see their family for Thanksgiving or Christmas, if there's signs that they grandpa or grandma's not acting like they used to, and it's a good time of year to visit, and it's also a good time of year to check in and make sure that they're doing okay and they're not being taken advantage of. So we want to get that out to the folks, and especially this time of year, to make sure everybody's doing okay and checking in on their family. And that's one of the big things we're going to be looking at in the coming months.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I think a lot of people think of elder abuse and they think of physical abuse, which that is certainly part of it. But to your point, it's actually more common that senior will be taken advantage of financially. And unfortunately, it's not just scammers. Sometimes it's actually someone within the family. And there are certainly organizations around that are interested in, and to your point, some online resources. But I think that's great that y'all are working just to educate people on some of the aspects of elder abuse and spotting when it may occur, and probably just not dismissing something you see. If you see something that seems out of place, never hurts to look into it. Yeah.
Take a second look, and nobody knows your family as well as you do. So, if you see signs or concerns, by all means, look into it and give us a call if you have any concerns.
Yep. And you've got the relationships with state agencies and people like that. Then, when necessary, you can bring them in and
we definitely with them. We have great relationship with the sheriff's office. Chad and I have teamed up for Faith in Blue a couple of weeks ago, and then of course we have a great relationship with the State Patrol and the GBI and the Adult Protective Services. There's so many resources out there for us to use, and we really do try to take advantage of as many as possible and keep those good working relationships up.
GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
GBI, that's right. Sorry.
We can have a quiz show.
That's right.
So some people may think, well, Chief Strait, he gets up in the morning and has his coffee and breakfast, and he comes into work, and then he goes home at 5 o'clock. I bet he didn't go home at 5 o'clock. Most of the time, it's sort of 24/7, 365 being the chief of police in a small town, right?
It really is. It's a great experience. When I was younger, I used to think it would be the perfect job. Yeah, you go home at 5 and nobody bothers you. But I found out real quick that's not how it goes, and I've adjusted my lifestyle to that, and I've made myself available like that. Though I really think this is a small town, and folks should be able to call, for certain things, of course, call the chief and say, hey, I have a concern. And so I'm very open to that. Obviously, if it's an emergency, you want to call 911 first, because I might be, somewhere out of range and, having that second cup of coffee. So I may not be able to get to you like 911 good. So
I was going to say, you come in at 5 and then you go home at 5, but sometimes it's the same 5.
It is.
It's 0.
There has been some long days, for sure.
Happens.
And continues long after the sun goes down sometimes.
No, that's right. The bad guys never rest, and
They
so
don't.
the good guys can't, unfortunately, either. But that's why the community support is so important. It extends your capability. But in addition to all of that, you do some other things. Like I think you're on the board of faith now.
I just kind of pointed to that, and that was a big honor for me to be asked to do that. And I've worked with Caroline and some of the others through the years and got to know them really well. And when they extended that invitation, I was more than happy to accept. And I look forward to building that relationship with them. And I tell you, you're never too old to learn new things. And just my first meeting was learning new things. And I hope to continue to do that, because they're a great resource to Reagan County, and they always have been ever since I started here. Yeah, what an honor to be on that board, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, it's one of the great organizations fighting abuse in the home, faith.
That's true.
Another acronym, but most people here know it. Well, I'm going to switch to you for just a second, Mayor Cannon, and we'll give you an opportunity to brag a little bit on Chief Strait. But in the process of doing that, can you just explain? I think a lot of people think, well, the police department is kind of off doing its own thing, and they kind of operate in the vacuum. Can you talk about how the chief sort of supports the overall vision and desired end states for the city?
Well, I won't, and I don't know exactly how it works prior to me coming in, but I know that we've tried to do more things where we worked as a team in the whole building, and we implemented some new things where we all come together and talk, and we've done it once with the council. That has to be a public meeting when all the council comes, and we've called that the round table. We're fixing to do another one of those, but they also do that constantly. I mean, weekly or constantly here in the office now.
Yeah.
And Trudy meets with everybody and talks about budgets and where they're at, what's going on, and what every department is doing, so everybody's working as a team. And he knows when they're fixing to dig up the middle of 441 before it happens, instead of getting the call after it's already done.
When the traffic's already backed up, yeah.
So they can plan for it, prepare for it, and Andy's done a really good job of every time I've asked for something, is we could do that, and I really like and have encouraged him to do more and more and more community things, and the community needs to know that if they've got a church group or a ladies group or whatever group you've got, if you want Andy to come and talk and give a little talk on scams or protecting children or women or elderly or whatever you'd like for him to talk about, or how they can help us catch druggies in our community, we'll definitely come and give you some education on that. And he's also been working recently with what to do if a gunman comes into City Hall. What do you do? How do you get out? Where do you go?
Yeah.
He's doing that same thing with the library and some other entities here to help them have a plan. What do you do? How do you act? What's the best thing or the best practices to handle those situations?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the employees here told me they really appreciated having some idea, because they don't know what to do. and it was very helpful, I think, to them. He's also going to do that with us, with the council. So what if something happens in the middle of a meeting? What do we do? How do we handle that? So we're prepared.
A little emotion in that room sometimes, right?
So 10 of the people carrying a gun in there don't shoot each other. I'm just kidding. But you definitely got a plan for issues, and you could say you grew up in the military and lived there for a long time, so you know what preparedness means.
Yep. We used to say a failure to plan is a plan to fail.
Yes.
That's right.
So then I've also really liked and have encouraged Sandy to really be present in the communities and ride every single road. And I've had a lot of citizens tell me, we've seen a car up here, we haven't seen one in a long time. We've seen cars up here now.
Yeah.
And a lady just up above me, up my street, said, hey, there was a drug deals going on there constantly, but the police are turning around there a couple times a day now, and they're gone.
Yeah.
They're not there anymore.
Yeah, that's
So
deterrence.
it's definitely making a difference. But we also want to stop them. We don't want them affecting our kids. So if you see something you think might be a little different or something's going on that you don't think's right, let's call and let Andy know, and we can check it out and do a little surveillance and make sure.
There you go. Now, regardless of whether it's somebody that is visiting, Raven County and Clayton for the first time, or somebody that's lived here their entire lives, what are the best ways for people to, one, stay informed about things, to include threats, emergent threats, and two, if you see something, you got a tip. If it's an emergency, you just call 911, right? But what's the best way for people to do that?
Well, that's a good question. I would say the social media is one of the better ways to stay informed. Obviously, our local radio, they do a great job of keeping visitors and the local folks alerted to anything that's going on. And the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the GBI, they do have a site that's it's called, I think it's See Something, Say Something. It's a little app you can download on your phone, and if it's not a 911 emergency, if it's something that's a concern, we have HeyGov. We can notify the city through HeyGov. They once they screen the complaint, they send it to the appropriate department. So we have those two resources, the GBI and the city's own HeyGov site, and they come to us, and we get on it immediately, because if we don't, Trudy gets on to us and lets us know that. No, she does a great job of directing that and making sure it gets to the right folks to get handled. So we have a lot of resources there, and that's the great thing about technology. We just have to remember to use it sometimes. We're all set in our ways, and I'm older, but I've tried to master the technology as much as I can because that's how we deal with folks now. And it has really paid off. So
a little challenging sometimes.
It is, definitely.
Well, I actually think, a biggest part of sort of the overall culture of the city, we were joking a little bit about this, but there's at least two tenets that I know of that Mayor Cannon has that are good to keep in mind regardless. And I'm going to see if he's on the same wavelength as me here.
Well, of course, and I say this at most all our meetings and anywhere I speak, is we have a new motto in Clayton: be nice or leave. And a couple of the tenets of that is, one, learn to wave with your whole hand. If you're from Atlanta and you've been used to using one finger in the middle, let's not do that anymore.
Yeah, nobody's number one.
Be nice. Stop and open the door for somebody. Be patient, because there's lines, there's people. We're not set up for tons and tons of people, but there are tons and tons of people here. So, be patient. When that person's trying to back out of the parking spot in town, stop and let them back out. Don't sit there and blow your horn. Tapping the horn should be the only thing you do, and that's just a signal to let them know you're waiting at them, not holding it down and screaming at them. That's not what we want to have here. And
it's not good for your own personal mental state.
Exactly. We want you to be in the mountains, be calm, be nice, enjoy yourself.
Take a deep breath.
Exactly.
Good. Well, Chief Strait, I know you're a very busy man. I remember specifically, one of the most notable things when I first moved to Raven County was I'd show up for different meetings, CMBA meeting, Clayton Business and Merchants Association, the DDA, Downtown Development Authority, or some of the county level things, and it seemed like we always had presence from the sheriff, our police, men and women of law enforcement, and on behalf of the community, just heartfelt thanks for everything that you all do. I don't think people realize, you have to be able to toggle from, talking with a family, a little child, a senior, someone like that, and being the nicest fellow on the face of the planet, to 5 minutes later, you could literally be dealing with an individual who's posing a lethal threat.
That's true.
To others, including, you, and being able to range like that and the stress that comes with law enforcement. I hope people, when they interact with you and your officers, will remember what a difficult job that is and everything you do to keep us and our community and our businesses and our visitors safe.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And Mayor Cannon, for your support of the police department.
Oh yes, I love those guys, and I'm behind them 100%. I'm pretty confident he knows that.
Definitely know that.
Well, then I will ask you to join me in the only tradition we have from the Raven County Spotlight and Mike Up The Mayor, is I ask you to wave with your whole hand and say, "We'll see you next time, Clayton."
We'll see you next time, Clayton.
Well done.